Personal boundaries are part of every single interaction you have with other people. Simply put, boundaries are the rules and expectations in each of your relationships. They're how you know to act differently with a teacher or your boss than you would with a best friend. Boundaries are also the reason you know not to do something like giving your bank account number to a stranger or sharing your life story with a clerk at the grocery store. On the other hand, they also let you know when you can be open, when you can trust another person. When someone has healthy boundaries, they balance these two sides. They know when to be open and when to be closed. In this video, I'll teach you how to identify if your boundaries tend to be more open, more closed, and also how you can improve them. First, let's talk about what makes boundaries unhealthy. I think it helps to imagine boundaries as a spectrum, with too open on one end and too closed on the other. We call boundaries that are too open porous. A person with porous boundaries often has trouble saying no. They might be afraid of being rejected if they don't please, so they give in to the demands of others. They worry more about the needs and wants of other people at the expense of themselves. Boundaries that are too closed are called rigid. A person with rigid boundaries avoids intimacy and close relationships. They have a hard time asking for help, and they're overprotective of personal information. They might avoid talking about things like their problems or their feelings. People with rigid boundaries keep others at a distance to avoid even the possibility of rejection. Finally, healthy boundaries make up the middle of the spectrum. This is a balance between porous and rigid boundaries. Someone with healthy boundaries is able to be open, but they're also able to say no and stand up for themselves. A person with healthy boundaries respects their own needs while taking into account the needs and the wants of other people. Of course, nothing is ever quite that simple. In practice, boundaries are more than just porous, rigid, or healthy. You probably have a mix of these traits in different situations, even if you tend to lean one way or another. For example, you might have a friend where you're really open with your time and you love to hang out any chance you get. But maybe what you like about the friendship is how much fun you have together and you prefer not to talk about personal problems. In this one relationship, you have a mix of open and closed boundaries. Context will also affect what's even considered to be open or closed. Behaviors that feel just right in a job interview will probably come across as closed off if you're out with a group of friends. It's normal and healthy to have these varied boundaries in different areas of your life. So why do different people have different boundaries? Why are some people really open while others are more closed off or guarded? Most broadly, boundaries come from your culture. It's likely that the people who live near you, even strangers, share a lot of the same ideas about what behaviors are normal and acceptable. For example, in most of the United States, it's okay to talk about yourself and your personal achievements. It's even a sign of pride and confidence. But in some cultures, talking about your achievements, even a little bit, comes across as bragging and impolite. Every culture has expectations about how people should act in different situations, and these expectations shape boundaries. Next, you have smaller social groups, like your family and friends, each with their own set of boundaries. Are your friends polite or casual? Do they hug or shake hands? Do you share everything with your family, or do you like to keep some things more private? And finally, there's you, the individual. Your own boundaries are influenced by your personal values. Values are the things you see as most important in life. These can be things like family or your career. They can also be traits like curiosity, honesty, or kindness. Ideally, your boundaries will reflect your values. If you value your family very highly, you might create strict boundaries at work and never work late. If you value kindness, you might be more open when it comes to helping others, even strangers. So, what are healthy boundaries? Healthy boundaries are like a drawbridge. They can be opened and closed to fit your needs. When closed, boundaries protect you from risk. And when open, they let in the positive opportunities that life has to offer. The right balance of open and closed is a bit different for everyone. Healthy boundaries take your culture, social group, and your personal values into consideration. They balance protecting you from harm with letting you just live and be open to experiences. People with healthy boundaries tend to be assertive. They can stand up for themselves, but they do so without trampling on others. They can say yes, but they can also say no when they want to. So if you're starting to notice boundaries for the first time, one of the best things you can do is just pay attention. Notice where your boundaries are helping you or where they're hurting you and holding you back. Once you put a name to your boundaries and begin seeing patterns, you can take a step back and start to make change.